What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
Calgurio and the others didn't appear to be inclined to contradict what I said, so I decided to give them to Geld and allow him to utilize them. But Geld was currently dozing out in an evolutionary nap. Since he wouldn't be awake for a while, I'd have to find out what they could do in the meanwhile.
Are any of you skilled in civil engineering, by the way?
Unexpectedly, there were a number of tech-savvy individuals in the military. There is a well-known tale of a samurai who oversaw the construction of a castle in my past incarnation. Even in more recent times, the self-defense forces were said to have contributed significantly to international relief operations. The Dwargon artisans in this world were also proud of their cutting-edge technology. They were relatively typical but made a significant difference. And it would not be an exaggeration to claim that the cornerstone of our nation was laid by Kaijin, the previous commander of a dwarfish craft corps. In this way, the relationship between civil engineering technology and the military was unbreakable.
Yes, of course. We are pleased to proclaim that our technology is the most advanced in the Empire.
Good. I'll get a chance to see your abilities in that situation.
Alright, let's get things started. I want you to meticulously rebuild the crumbling castle you can see in front of you. I'll acquire the supplies, but you should start with the design. Can you manage it?
I want them to repair it themselves because they broke it. In response to my request, Calgurio nodded.
As you desire.
Calgurio gave a confident nod, and the men who seemed to be his minions immediately began to take action. The men's promptness and composure were just what one would anticipate from people who can perform their duties. The skeletons would also be prepared to assist when Adelman awoke, so it appeared that the restoration would be completed soon. And with that, I made the decision to assign the Imperial Army to the task. The only task left was to obtain information. I chose a few of Calgurio's subordinates who knew the situation well and requested them to go with me to the conference room because I needed to ask some specific questions. I had arranged a meeting with the executives who remained awake to talk about defenses. The Imperialists must be unaware of Calgurio's group's defeat at this point. Yuki would have gotten reports from Misha and Laplace, but the risk of information leakage from them was too great. We also knew about the actions the Empire was taking. Additionally, I had told Ruminas that roughly 300 airships were flying above the sea route.
Just wait and see how they respond.
She talked firmly. Although Ruminas had a deal with me, I didn't expect she would move on her own. The Imperial Army was supposed to be stopped from approaching from the north by Ruminas. Their religion's center of power was the Holy Empire of Ruberius, which also gave birth to several holy knights. We were able to put our lives in their capable hands because they also possessed a secret vampire force. 150,000 Western Reserve forces would protect Ruminas if she ever found herself in peril. The men of Testarossa were ready to respond at once. Above all, we were undoubtedly ready for a crisis because Hinata was collaborating with Ruminas. We still couldn't be too cautious though. I called for the start of the meeting after surveying the crowd. The next 17 people gathered. Xian and Diablo, the secretaries. Benamaru the Grand Admiral. Rigard and Kaijin are those in charge of administration. Gabel and Gobta, the corp commanders. Consultant Hakuro. Soe, the intelligence officer. Gadra will be a crucial witness. Testarossa, Ultima, and Carrera were also present. There was Minutes, Calgurio himself, and the team of Jiwoo and Bernie from the Imperial side. There were 18 of us here, including myself. We began with self-introductions, and the Imperial officials were mortified to learn that Diablo and the three demon girls were primordials. Their looks hurt so badly. I apologize. Diablo alone is to blame, not me. I made the decision to carry on as if nothing had happened because I sensed the likelihood of another complaint. Just let's get started.
So just tell me as much as you can, please.
I then used my physical magic to project an image of the flying boat squadron, Argus. As I had requested earlier, I asked Calgurio to explain the current state of the Empire. The images on the sizable surveillance screen caused the Imperial side to stumble. Calgurio kept his composure and began to describe the circumstance right away. Some of the information I know came from Gadra. Calgurio was a soldier, but the old man didn't care about the betrayal. I have to follow up with Gadra because he might not be able to tell me everything. He informed me of what he knew, and I then asked him to elaborate.
I see. Then allow me to explain.
Calgurio spoke more clearly than I had anticipated. A division of Calgurio's armored corps known as the Air Assault Division, had a contemporary air force of 400 airships. Currently, 300 of them were en route to the northern region of the Kingdom of Ingratia to carry other corps. Maximum passenger capacity for each airship was 400. They claimed that each ship could transport 350 people and that 50 persons were sufficient to operate the ships. Gadra had told me exactly this, and it was true. The 30,000-man Magic Beast Corps, under the command of the Imperial General Gladium, was the group being transported. But it appears that they were joined by magic beasts, who might be considered their partners. They were literally transporting 60,000 fighters in that regard. The others appeared to be support staff who helped with logistics. Major General Zamud was given leadership of them, but since he appeared to be a non-combatant, he would not be included as a force.
The majority of the men that went to Ingratia were apprentices, which makes me feel embarrassed to mention it here. Although they can pilot airships, they won't be very accurate in actual combat. They should only be conducting research, so if you can, show them some mercy,
said Calgurio. Only civilians of their adversary, General Gladium, could be lent because this time, their entire force was directed against our nation. There were roughly 30,000 of these support staff members, the majority of whom were sorcerers rather than wizards. The remaining people worked as airship maintenance technicians. They requested that we take them as prisoners of war, preferably without killing them.
There is a limit to what you can accomplish, you bastard. You attacked our nation, and now that you are going to lose, do you want us to assist you without killing you?
Calgurio grew pale and apologized as Xian yelled in wrath. Even though I made an effort to soothe Xian, I conceded that she had a point. Calgurio made an apology for his mistake and appeared to comprehend it sufficiently.
That's not our responsibility to handle. We may need to request that they give up depending on the circumstances.
We are aware of that, of course. It shall be done according to your Majesty Rimmeru's wishes.
If I could, I'd think about it, but there were no guarantees. Even my resurrection magic had its limitations and could not always work. In addition, I might not be able to do anything based on Rumina's response. I was informed that Gladium's Magic Beast Corps posed a substantial threat as well, and there was no assurance Hinata and the others wouldn't suffer serious harm. There would not be time for mercy if that occurred. Since we had a good defense, I thought we wouldn't be defeated, but since there are no absolutes in war, such a pledge could not be made so carelessly. The story came to an end there. I then wished to discuss Dwargan's eastern city. I changed to the Argus's monitor. The screen showed a 60,000-man army. They all appeared relaxed and well-rested while tented. The Imperials were once more staring at me in disbelief when I explained the situation to them.
Despite our reluctance, Yuki and I have currently forged an alliance. This current confrontation between us is merely an act.
When I said this, Minutes started laughing at himself.
What a disaster. We had no hope of succeeding if one of the armies had been taken from the start.
Calgurio agreed by nodding.
Yes, that's correct. As soon as our Armored Corps and Gladium's Magic Beast Corps were annihilated, they would turn their attention to the Imperial City. When that happens, the game is over.
The two men's expressions darkened as they realized they had lost the battle not just because of their opponent's superior power, but also because of their superior strategy. It should be noted, however, that not everyone agreed with their assessment.
That isn't the case. In the city, there are still those who guard the Emperor. The people who have awakened are comparable to an army. I say again and again. He must have been aware of Yuki's potential for rebellion.
Bernie's assertion, though, struck me as coming from someone distinct from Masayuki's former follower because of his commanding demeanor.
Are you the genuine Bernie?
Oh, no. Actually, I'm more like the person I used to be when I worked with Masayuki.
I asked the question, and Bernie gave a proper response when I said it. He claimed that his current mindset was one of a military man and that he was by nature more accepting. He also disclosed to me that he was formerly an American. He was, incidentally, 45 years old. He was formerly a regular student, and his education after being here is what made him into the current Bernie. Even though it was information that no one other than him needed to know, I yet felt a stronger connection to him.
Well, that's a good way to put it. I've heard that someone in the Empire has the ability to kill me, and I wouldn't be astonished if a generally deadlocked scenario could be quickly overturned.
Quality over quantity is actually the main issue in this world, if you think about it. No matter how much strength one can muster, if they are unable to overcome a single opponent, they will lose. I would also have to think about the reverse scenario because we had won the battle.
If that's the case, I'll go over there and beat them up.
With the huge blade in her grasp, Xian spoke briskly. Naturally, I declined it because there was no assurance that she would prevail in the fight.
Then I'll carry it out.
Denied.
Despite the fact that I couldn't envision Diablo losing, I was still going to vote against it. My strategy was to wait and observe until I could set up an instance in which we could unquestionably prevail. I stressed once more the need of taking their time with this. Whatever the situation, getting information was crucial. It was impossible to count the number of failures brought on by a lack of knowledge. I have to be careful not to commit the same mistake again.
So you are clinging to Masayuki to avoid drawing attention to yourself and approach me, is that right? To be completely honest, I paid it no attention at all, and the attack's timing was risky.
I looked at Jiwoo and Bernie. Even Wisdom King Raphael-san failed to realize how flawless the operation was, despite the fact that it may have been Damrata's command. He was my enemy, yet I had to acknowledge his abilities. I believe it was difficult to keep one's best power disguised until they had the opportunity to kill. This time I had the advantage, but if anything had gone wrong, things may have gone the other way. The Emperor would have gotten exactly what he wanted if it had occurred. Tempest's army would have been dispersed by the Empire without me and Benimaru.
I was overconfident and irresponsible. After all, I thought the labyrinth was a secure place. Now I'll always keep in mind to be cautious whenever there is a battle.
Me too. I'll make certain that anyone approaching Rimuru-sama undergoes a more comprehensive background check.
Despite the fact that Benimaru and Soe had been worried about this for a while, it was not entirely their fault. They were more vigilant than I was and prepared for every conceivable scenario. I also needed to think about my lack of crisis awareness.
I was told by Damrata-sama to look out for Masayuki. Since I didn't know the purpose, I assumed it was to stop information from leaking.
The same is true of me. We did not get the order all at once, but we were attempting to keep our identities hidden from one another via various means. The only time I realized Bernie was also a single digit was when the order to kill His Majesty Rimuru was given.
Jiwoo and Bernie joined our discussion. Given that I acknowledged their freedom to remain silent, I admired their willingness to speak. I was somewhat worried about what they stated, though.
You simply remembered?
No, I've never met anyone else who is a single digit. Thus I didn't find out Jiwoo was one until after the order was given.
The same applies to me. Perhaps no one knows each other's identities but the commander and deputy commander.
I was taken aback by that response. The greatest forces in the Empire not knowing each other's identities also astonished me. Why would they act in that way?
Answer. The presumable intent is to prevent betrayal.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Martin Ramos, Marl Barsha, Aditya Vyas, Andrew Liu, Ralph Ignacio, Fawaz Sala, Chris Nelson, Karen, Mark Charlie Els, Hansel Ortega. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.